Bro, here's why we should read books that actually challenge us. So today, bro, I've been on self-improvement for 4 years now, this year, right? And I've read all sort of books like Atomic Habits, Attached, How to Influence and Influence People. These books that, like, really, if we think about it, like, a lot of people nowadays read, right? Like, they're very mainstream, like they've sold like millions and millions of copies. Like all these books, like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right? The 4 Hour Work Week, like these books, and these are good books, I'm not gonna lie, and I've learned a lot from them. But I think the next step in our self-improvement journey, and this I wish I had done this sooner, is we should read hard, challenging books about like the founding fathers of discipline. So I'm gonna explain this because this is a bit complex, but we should read, like, for example, instead of reading like 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson, right? Like it's a great psychology book, of course, and it's very, very helpful. The rules are amazing for your life and they're very amazing and all of that, right? But instead of reading that, why not read, for example, Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung, who Jordan Peterson literally studies him, right? He loves Carl Jung and he gets most of his ideas from Carl Jung, right? Who is one of the founding fathers of psychology. Why not read The Interpretation of Dreams by Sigmund Freud? Because here's the thing, like these are the founding fathers of these disciplines. William James, like Principles of Psychology by William James. So basically what I did today, right? And this was I was thinking about this a lot, but I actually did it, is I started reading about Freud. Like Freud, he's basically one of the founding fathers of psychology. He's the founding father of psychoanalysis, which is a discipline in the discipline of psychology. But basically, like most of what we believe in psychology is because of Sigmund Freud, right? He's the person who discovered the unconscious, right? I always talk about the conscious and the subconscious mind. He's the one who discovered the subconscious mind, right? So what I did was, I told myself, you know what, I'm just gonna study the founding fathers of disciplines, right? And I actually learned this from Charlie Morgan, by the way, and I'm gonna talk about it. But I went on Google and I was like, hey, I want to start reading about Sigmund Freud, right? So what is the first book that I read, or the introductory textbook that I should read? And I found out if you want to start reading about Freud, you read a book called The Psychopathology of Everyday Life. So I got the book and I started reading it like as an ebook, right? And bro, like I can't tell you how much it changed the entire way I think. Like the book, basically it talks about like why we like forget about certain names, or why we forget certain words. But like it's just fascinating when you read about these founding fathers like Sigmund Freud, like Darwin, for example. Like if you read The Origin of Species, right, by Charles Darwin, which explains natural selection, like the theory that everything that lives on this planet adapts over time, and basically survival of the fittest, survival of the most adaptable to the environment. Everything adapts over time, and that's how we progress as organisms. It's just fascinating. And you read about The Descent of Man, right, by Charles Darwin, which talks about sexual selections, and like the traits that benefit reproduction the most are the traits that carry on. It's just absolutely fascinating, and he gets all these examples from birds and from cats, and from here and from here and from here. It's just absolutely fascinating when you read about these founding fathers. And the thing is, most people can't do it. Most people can't do it. Like if you read about like the founding fathers, you literally destroy everyone. Because here's the thing, like most people will read like if you're interested in biology, like Richard Dawkins, for example. He's like a very famous biologist, right? He's the author of The Selfish Gene, right? And I think he's very good, right? But the thing is, like, if you want to study a discipline, right? I've talked about this a lot. Like multidisciplinary thinking is how billionaires and philosophers and emperors, basically how the greatest people in history think. Multidisciplinary thinking. If you want to study a discipline, you study the founding father. And the thing is, it's hard. It's hard to read these people like Freud and Darwin, even Nietzsche and Hegel and Plato and Machiavelli and And like I just speak with so much passion about this because I love this, right? And this is coming from someone who I literally read like 110, 120 plus like self-help books, right? And I just like, I'm telling you, like when I read this book, like The Psychopathology of Everyday Life, which is the introductory book on Freudian psychology, I literally felt like so dumb and so stupid because he's so deep. The way he just writes, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I think like this is what will give us a huge competitive advantage over everyone else. Like because here's the thing, like everyone right now, they read like Sapiens, right? Now honestly, Sapiens is a great book, I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a great book. It talks about like the history of humanity, right? Now of course I'm not saying you should not read these books, like these self-help books, like of course like it's kind of ironic that I'm saying this while I have these books here, but really I have them here because I know like a lot of us as young men, like we read these books, and we love these books, and these books are very valuable, right? Yeah, I think we should absolutely read these books, and these books are so amazing. Like these books literally changed my entire life. Like Attached, on relationships, Why We Sleep, like I literally optimized my sleep. Like to this day, my favorite book of all time, right? How to Influence and Influence People. Like the book's so beat up as well. Like I read this book legit like more than 20 times even. Like I just love it. But yeah, like I love the quote by Naval Ravikant, which is, read what you love until you love to read. Like that's it really. Like just, if you love reading self-help books, read self-help books. If you love reading like these hard, challenging books, read them. But what I'm saying is, if you already, like this is an advanced step, I'm not gonna lie, this is advanced. This is if you've been reading for like a couple of years and you genuinely love to read like me, right? Read books that challenge you. We should read books that challenge us, bro. Like we should think of our brain, because that's just the truth of it, right? Like our brain is like muscles. Like we have to keep challenging our brains and reading harder and more complex books, right? Over time, reading Freudian psychology and reading Jungian psychology and reading, Darwinism, right? It's just. I just don't understand like how people like today, like you could literally read about the greatest people in history. You could read about Napoleon, you can read about like Napoleon alive, right? Like the best biography about Napoleon. Like it's massive. It's like a book that's over 1,000 pages, but it's just absolutely fascinating. You could read on Alexander the Great, who literally conquered the entire known world. Like you could read about Genghis Khan, who had the largest empire in history, right? You could read about Caesar, who had one of the most powerful empires in the world, the Roman Empire, right? Like we could read about these. You could literally read the words of the man who discovered one of the greatest theories in human history, which is Charles Darwin, the origin of species, bro. Like, I just don't understand how people like still just read these self-help books, right? Like, and this is coming from someone like I used to read these books for years, but like one of the biggest things I learned like this year today is like we should read books that challenge us. And I'm starting to get into like Freudian and Jungian psychology, and I'm gonna document my journey, and I'm gonna actually like try to explain it as simply as possible what I learned from these books, right? But I think that's the next step. Like if you're advanced on self-improvement, if you're just starting to read, like forget any of this. Like don't do any of this, right? It's just gonna mess up with your head. Like stick to it. Read what you love until you love to read, right? That quote by Naval Ravikant really is the best. Read what you love until you love to read. But like I said, if you love to read, we should like read these hard, challenging books by the founding fathers, right? And the thing is, I'm gonna give you like examples, right? Like for example, when I was reading The Psychopathology of Everyday Life by Freud, he was talking a lot about, reproduction and sex. Like Freud was pretty weird, not gonna lie. But what he really meant by reproduction is not in the biological sense, like we reproduce, right? No, what he meant is reproduction in the psychological sense. So basically what that means is reproducing words, for example. Like he meant replicating, for example, right? Another thing is sex, right? Like Freud talks a lot about sex, like, and people think like, oh, you're having sex with your mother, you're having like these lustful fantasies. But really, what Freud is talking about when he talks about sex, he's talking about love. So the thing is, like, we have to understand. I'm gonna give you another example, like Darwin, for example. When he was explaining his theory of evolution, right, and the origin of species, he always was talking about, he kept repeating that phrase of survival of the fittest, right? That's the theory of natural selection. But really, like, people think, so like, you hear this phrase a lot, right? What survival of the fittest means is, oh, this jacked guy who's like really muscular, right? But that's not what it means, really. But what he meant is, and he actually explained it in the beginning of the book, is it's survival of the most adaptable to the environment. So it's not, this is a quote by Charles Darwin, it's not the biggest or the smartest that survive, but those who are most willing to adapt. So, and that's not just in biology, that's a principle in business, that's a principle everywhere in life. If you keep adapting and adapting and adapting, you will win, you will succeed, you will be the best. And I'm telling you this not just from what I've learned, but this is from personal experience. Like, if you keep improving over and over again, and you keep adapting, you will win. It's almost inevitable. Like over a long enough period of time, you will win. Another thing he talks about in The Descent of Man, when he's explaining like sexual selection, he talks about ornaments, right? Like males and females in certain species have ornaments. Now, he doesn't mean like Christmas tree ornaments, right? What he's meaning is basically cues that signal high genetic quality or fertility, right? Or basically good genes. They're cues that signal good genes. That's what he means by it. So we have to kind of like understand the language of these people, because it's like their own language, so we have to kind of understand what they mean by certain words, right? But yeah, I think if you do this, like, you will literally destroy everyone. Like, you actually study the founding fathers. Like imagine this. Imagine, like, if you're in business, right? Like, imagine you have like a business, and you have like competitors, right? Who read, like, for example, just gonna pull this out. Who read like Rich Dad Poor Dad, for example, or The Psychology of Money, like these money get rich fast books, right? Like, they've read these books, but you've read literally the 3 volumes of The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Who do you think will beat who? Like, of course you're gonna destroy them, man. Like, yes, they read a couple of get rich fast and assets and liabilities and all this and about sales and marketing, but you literally read about the founding father of economics. You literally read about how money works through the entire world. Like, of course you're gonna destroy those guys. You see why this is so powerful? If you study the founding fathers, first of all, you will absolutely demolish everyone, because you understand how the world works. You actually understand the first principles of the discipline. And second of all, when you read these books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, or Atomic Habits, or Attached, right, or Why We Sleep, like, when you read these books, it will be just so easy. That's the thing. Like, it's just gonna be like really easy to read these books, because the language here is very easy. It's very simple compared to those, hard, dense, challenging books that are sometimes very long, sometimes even more than 500 or even more than 1,000 pages, right? So when you actually want to read these books, they're going to be just very easy. So yeah, this is something I learned, honestly, these past few days, that we should read books that challenge us. If you want to listen to someone who actually talks about this, Charlie Morgan, bro. I learned all of this from him, and he talks about this a lot. Basically, he's this brilliant, like, jacked entrepreneur who's made like over $40 million. He's 27 years old. He's read over like 500 books, right? But he's just super brilliant, like super intelligent, absolutely brilliant, man, absolute genius. And he talks about this a lot. But yeah, this is what I've learned, and I'm gonna document my journey. I'm gonna document what I learned, and as always, we're in this together, and we will make it.